Hi guys, this is GSMDome.com and I'm here with the Apple iPhone 16e, supposed to be this year's affordable iPhone, the successor of the iPhone SE 2022. So we're dealing with a phone which is priced at around $599 to get it started. It has the same Apple A18 processor as the iPhone 16 minus one GPU core. It even has access to Apple Intelligence, believe it or not, and I have here the proof. So for example, if you're using a document which is this large, you can see here some writing tools for proofreading and all that. And of course you can trigger Siri with ChatGPT integration, write me 3 paragraphs about Trump tariffs. Okay, so of course it resorted to ChatGPT, so it's already a sign we have Apple Intelligence. Anyway, it's the successor to the iPhone SE 2022 with double the battery capacity here, with an USB-C port, with a notch at the top side, without a fingerprint scanner, with an OLED 6.1-inch screen, although stuck at 60 Hz, sadly only in black and white and with a singular back camera. Apple may be a bit crazy for doing this. It also uses the brand new Apple C1 modem made in-house by Apple. Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the design. Obviously, it's a recycled iPhone 13 or iPhone 14 if you look at the size, measurements, and everything about it. The good thing about it is that it's very easy to use with a single hand. It's a monoblock phone with a flat screen and a flat frame. It uses aluminum and glass at the back, glass at the front, an aluminum frame, and it's got the notch here instead of the dynamic island. So just so you know the measurements, the iPhone 16e is 146.7 over 71.5 millimeters. That's the length, and the width. Compared to the iPhone 16, it's, I would say, about a millimeter shorter, about the same width, and the same thickness, 7.8 millimeters. 3 grams lighter, 167 grams only, which makes it a very, very light phone. 6.1 incher, as I mentioned before. And of course, it also comes with IP68 certification, which means you can resist dust and water. You can submerge it up to 6 meters for 30 minutes. The screen has ceramic protection, ceramic shield, and sadly, there are only 2 colors for it, black and white, even though it's supposed to be a cheaper phone for the youngsters. Now, as far as the screen is concerned, I'm going to resort to YouTube for a test video. It's an OLED, that's the good news. It's actually a Super Retina XDR OLED 6.1 inch, but it does have an annoying notch at the top. It also has HDR10 support, 1200 nits of brightness, 87% screen to body ratio, a resolution of 2532 over 1170 pixels, and it's pretty much the same screen as the iPhone 14, give or take a few millimeters in bezels. Anyways, just 60 Hz refresh rate, that's my only complaint. It's a very bright panel with wide view angles, as you can see for yourself, a large color palette, and an excellent contrast in the sun. I definitely have no objections about it. So yeah, of course the refresh rate remains a drawback. We measured the brightness and achieved 845 lux, which is just okay. It beats Samsung Galaxy A36, OnePlus Nord 4 and 3. It's below Samsung Galaxy A56, Motorola Edge 50 Pro, and Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. If you're on settings for the screen, you're going to find them here. You go to the display and brightness, you got your light or dark theme, automatic, text size, bold text, true tone, night shift, auto lock, raise to wake, and other similar things. I find the notch to be annoying nowadays that I'm accustomed to the dynamic island. And now we proceed further to discuss the innards of the phone. And when I say innards, I obviously am talking about the processor, which is a Apple A18. Just so you know, the Apple A18 is the CPU here. The same processor as the iPhone 16, 3 nanometer chip, hexa core, 4.04 gigahertz, but the GPU has 4 cores instead of the 5 it had on the iPhone 16. Still, it has ray tracing when it comes to the gaming. So we also have 8 gigs of RAM available here, as well as 128, 256 or 512 gigabyte NVMe storage. I mean, I wouldn't say it gets very hot, but it does get a bit hotter than I expected when charging and when playing more intense games, such as, well, not only Asphalt, but Call of Duty, for example. It gets a bit hotter than I expected. Now, as far as the benchmarks are concerned, we also did those, and we go here, and we start with Antutu 10. As you can see, 1.47 million points here, above the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and Motorola Edge 50 Ultra, but also above the iPhone 15. That's where we're at. However, with this score well below the iPhone 16, the Realme GT6, which is a bit older, and the Zenfone 10, which is also quite older, plus the Galaxy S24 Fan Edition and S24, which are smaller phones which can compete with this model. Okay, now let's talk about Geekbench 6. As you can see in the single core test, I'm shocked to see this phone on the first place, beating the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the iPhone 16, 16 Plus and 16 Pro Max. But in the multi-core test, things are a bit different. It's on the 8th spot, still doing pretty well, above the iPhone 16, 16 Plus and Oppo Find X8 Pro. So quite good in Geekbench, possibly because of the whole AI tasks pushing it further. It's below the Xiaomi 15 if you want to compare it to a smaller phone. Now when it comes to 3D mark, you can tell that the GPU isn't that impressive. It's beaten by mid-range phones like the Honor 200 Pro, in the Solar Bay by a phone from 2 years ago, in the 3D mark Wildlife Extreme. Let's see. Here it's above a very old phone, so yes, it does feel like it's a bit underpowered when it comes to the whole GPU thing. In the Nomad Lite is above the Galaxy A56 but below the Xiaomi 15. So that's that. If you're wondering about the temperature, we have some tests here. So in benchmarks, let's see how much we achieved. 32.5 degrees Celsius, definitely no overheating here, and in games is the coolest phone ever, equal to the Realme 14 Pro, only 25.7 degrees Celsius. The battery has me shocked, even though it says unavailable information here. I know for a fact it's a 4000 mAh battery. It's actually a huge jump from the iPhone SE 2022, which has a 2000 mAh battery. The charging is 20 watts via USB-C. We don't have MagSafe, we do have 7.5 watt wireless QI charging. And now let's see our test battery life. So 20 hours and 10 minutes of video playback. Apple promised 26, but it's good, but definitely not a record. It's above Motorola Edge 50, Huawei Nova 11 Pro and the Vivo X80 Lite, but it's definitely far from the flagships. You can see at the top phones with 34 or 38 hours of playback from Honor and Oppo. So yeah, below Xiaomi 14, below Moto G85, Galaxy A35, A56 and more. Now, we don't have a PC mark test here, but I would say that continuous usage is shockingly good, perhaps on the account of the new modem Apple C1. I got easily 1 day and a half of usage. You could go to bed and still have 35% or 40% battery after 1 day of Instagram, YouTube, Safari, email, videos, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Slack, Trello and things like that, each of them taking up 1 hour of your time or 1 hour and a half. The charge is pretty slow, 1 hour and 23 minutes, and after 30 minutes you're at 58% with a Baseus 100 watt charger. So that's about it as far as the battery is concerned. On the acoustics front, things are classical for Apple. This is the bottom speaker, the earpiece is the top speaker. It's one of the smallest earpieces on the market, still delivers in a decent fashion, and we have a clip to prove it. Okay, so a bunch of ideas. Excellent bass, but on the treble, on the high notes, you'll feel a bit of distortion and maximum volume. Excellent note separation with the bottom speaker taking the bass and the top speaker taking the high notes. I would say that it's pretty good stereophony, very pleasant voices in podcasts, but once again, the high notes will be annoying when the volume is at maximum level. We did a test with a decibel meter and achieved 76.8 decibels at the top and 83.2 decibels at the bottom. There's a bit of a difference here. The bottom speaker is more powerful with a typical acoustic test sample. Give it a coincidence or what have you. The 83.2 decibels achieved here are the exact equal of the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Very weird coincidence. So yeah, you can see here iPhone 16 Pro Max and Xiaomi 15, the exact same value, 83.5. Anyway, we surpassed OnePlus Nord 4, Huawei Pura 70 Pro, we're below Galaxy A56 and S25 Ultra. This has been a test with an acoustic sample. In the game Asphalt and any game in general, 95.7 decibels. I would say it's the typical value nowadays. Above Motorola H50 Fusion, Galaxy A56, OnePlus 13, below Huawei Nova 13 Pro and Honor 200. So we used to see 100 decibels more often, but lately not so much. The camera gets crazy. Apple is probably the only company using a single back camera on a pricey phone, $500–600. Pricey for its, I would say, mid-range segment. This at the front is a 12 megapixel camera for selfies, f1.9 aperture, face detection autofocus, 4K 60 frames per second, and a 3D SL sensor next to it, which helps with the bokeh and the face unlock. At the back we have a singular 48 megapixel camera with f1.6 aperture, face detection autofocus, optical image stabilization, hybrid focus pixels, not 100% focus pixels like the iPhone 16 had, and this is the LED flash and this is the microphone. So on paper we should have the 48 megapixel camera of the iPhone 16, but without as many focus pixels. The camera interface is pretty familiar. We have 2 levels of zoom, of course only digital zoom. There are also these tweaks here which you can apply, filters, timer, and other things. Then we have the panorama, we have the portrait with the classical studio lighting options. We have the video up to 4K 60 frames per second. We don't have a cinematic mode and we don't have an action mode. We do have a slow motion here and we do have a time lapse. Not as many color profiles as one would like here. I'm talking about the color choices which we have here. So vivid, warm, dramatic, silver tone. So yeah, we don't have the cool color profiles of the pricier iPhones. And now it's time to address the gallery. By the way, we don't have spatial capture or, as I said before, action mode or a camera button here. Okay, so let's see the galleries of the gallery of photos we've taken with this handset. First things first, the colors. Even though on this screen they may look like booming and very vivid, they're actually pretty cold and realistic, and the camera is also very light hungry. I would also have to say that the selfies were quite satisfying with or without portrait mode. One of the best selfies I've seen in recent times, and if you consider this a mid-range phone, this should be something like top 3 selfie photos taken by a mid-range handset. Lots of lighting, good focus, and even the background looks nice. It's not the usual overexposure which we see on some mid-range handsets out there. In the shade they look a bit less impressive, but still pretty clear and detailed. So yes, selfies are top-notch. They actually remind me of the Pixel 7 and Pixel 8 times. Now back to the regular photos. We definitely are lacking an ultra-wide camera, but you're capturing a lot of scenario even without it. And I would say that 2x or 3x zoom digital one is quite decent, even though we're lacking a telephoto camera. What's not as detailed are these water drops here, courtesy of the sprinklers. I actually expected even more detail considering the sensor is so good. Okay, and now we get even more colors thanks to these cherry trees and apple trees. It's the spring after all, they're in bloom. In general, it's a pretty honest camera with a very clear and crisp image, lots of white, and pretty good focus even on close-ups. I would go as far as to say that it's superior when it comes to focusing on close-ups to phones from Motorola, from Realme, from Oppo, and a few other brands. So yeah, there's that, and several more shots here. It feels that sometimes the main camera angle is wide enough, so you will not regret the lack of ultra-wide. Here you can see a very pixelated cat, which is probably zoomed to the maximum level, which I wouldn't exactly recommend it because you're lacking a telephoto camera. So spot on focus, good colors, lots of light, still lacking a bit in zoom, and of course the width of the field without a ultra-wide camera. These are the daytime shots. I would say that yes, there is a jump from the iPhone SE 2022, particularly in texture and details, and maybe also close-ups. Now let's see the low light captures, because we also did those. These are the ones. Okay, so a bunch of ideas about the low light captures. There are some reflections here and there which are typical for iPhones. You know, the green, blue dots which sometimes appear on photos. The street light sources are a bit big, but once again there is a lot of light being captured here in a similar scenario to recently tested Motorola phones. This one captures much more light. Moving subjects tend to be a bit shaky if you catch them around you. I'm talking about, I don't know, cars or vehicles or people, and as you can see, some of the streetlights halos are a bit overblown. But the hues, well, they're not affected by the light sources. I mean, there is no impregnation with orange or purple or anything like that, as we see on some mid-range phones out there. And you can even discern the text if you're zooming in to something which is decently far. So all in all, a pretty decent low light capture. I wouldn't say it's better than a basic iPhone 16, basic iPhone 15, maybe at the level of an iPhone 13 or 14. I would say superior to 13, around the level of 14. And here you can see that some of the lights are overblown at the night time. So all in all, a lot of light. That's what you should remember about the camera. It captures a ton of light. And by the way, the best shots, believe it or not, are indoors, where the white lighting combined with the colors produce excellent results. So zero complaints when it comes to indoor shots. Okay, now it's time to check out some videos. We also did those tests. So knowing Apple as we do, we tend to believe that they're quite solid when it comes to stabilization, but let's actually find the clip. So we have 24 videos here. This one is a stabilization test, and here we go. Excellent stabilization, by the way. Great details in 4K filming. The exposure feels a bit high when there's a lot of sun around us. So yeah, stabilization checks out. This is the focus test, passed with flying colors, focusing on the foreground and on the background with high speed. Of course, excellent selfie capture, good enough for vlogging. Perfect focus, perfect shade, lighting, texture. Even what's behind us has that sensation of depth, which bloggers look into. And these are the colors, which are actually, I would say, a bit brighter and I would say stronger than on the photos. A pretty satisfying experience, but not unlike something you'd see on a Galaxy A56 or even A36. Well, perhaps just a bit clearer and with more impressive details. Okay, a zoom test, nothing to write home about if you go past 2x or 3x. That's for sure. And also low light capture, which is suspected to be sort of the Achilles heel here. Just like the photos, lots of light being captured, but also some shakiness when moving around and filming while in motion. There are some reflections, even more than on the photos. I expected the video to be much less shaky. The microphones are quite solid, I have to admit. In capturing ambience, in fighting the wind, in capturing voices. Underwhelming zoom, as expected. All in all, I actually expected better from the iPhone. It may feel crisp, but it's not as impressive as something you'd find even on some mid-range phones out there. They can handle the lights better with less reflections and can also deliver, I would say, better colors. And also I don't find this to be a huge jump from the iPhone SE 2022, the night capture. Now let's talk about connectivity. The device provides you with 5G, there's also USB-C 2.0 at the bottom, the brand new port, there's Wi-Fi 6, there's eSIM, Bluetooth 5.3, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, BDS, QZSS, Navic and NFC. And of course we did a speed test here, actually we did a bunch of them with some pretty impressive results. When it comes to 5G, we went almost to 800 megapers in download and 126 megapers in upload. On Wi-Fi 642 over 609 in download and upload respectively. I would say we're doing quite fine connectivity wise. As far as the software is concerned, the phone debuted with iOS 18.3 and received iOS 18.4 on March 31st, which brought Apple Intelligence to the European Union. Now, iOS 18, you already know it from the review we did for the iPhone 16 series. It brings the option to customize your icons, as you can see here. You can make them darker, automatic, tinted, light, larger, also mess around with the colors however you want to. There are some extra customization here to change the color grill or borrow something from the environment. So yeah, there's that. Okay, so let's see what else. You're getting 5 years of iOS updates. You're unlocking the phone with Face ID. There's no fingerprint scanner anymore. There's no Touch ID. And of course, you can also, if you want to, increase or decrease the size of your widgets and place icons and widgets wherever you want on the screen with more freedom. Now, if you want to see this notification area, it's here. And here you have your collection of widgets, which is a sort of today view. While here you have a multi-pane control center. It's now including multiple windows and it's differently organized compared to what you had before iOS 18. There are new focus modes and they're handy if you want to focus on the task at hand. You have a dedicated passwords application. You have a dedicated journal application, which is good for your mental health. So you can start journaling. You can get suggestions. You can include certain moments of the day, photos, vocal recordings. Once again, good for your mental health. You can also customize your lock screen if you really want to, and customize the clock, the fonts, the widgets, what have you. A lot of things here: photo shuffle, emojis, wallpapers, fonts, and so much more. But you already knew about this from the previous reviews that we did. You can also have 3 widget styles: 2x2, 4x2, 4x4. You can also stack widgets on top of each other like it's happening here. Anyway, and photos has also been revamped. Some call this experience a bit more confusing, while I think it's pretty okay, but there's a lot to scroll here. They got rid of the grid between the photos. They're all massed together. And we also have a smarter AI which finds events, pets, and people faster and better. And now let's get to Apple Intelligence. First and foremost, you have a dedicated section in the settings go here, Apple Intelligence and Siri are bundled together, and ChatGPT can also be integrated as an extension. So right now, if I keep pressed here, and by the way, if you can also get your feedback from it, so Siri responses can be spoken. You can also have a transcript. Okay, so write 3 journalistic paragraphs about Trump's tariffs.
I'll need to use ChatGPT to write that. Should I go ahead?
So if you're a journalist, it can help you with your tasks.
Here's an answer from ChatGPT.
It wrote an article about Trump's tariffs. It can also tell you what's on the screen. Maybe try something more relevant. What's on the screen right now?
Do you want me to send this photo to ChatGPT?
As you can see, it depends a lot on ChatGPT.
Here's an answer from ChatGPT.
So if people have some problems with their site, it can tell them what's on the screen. It can also write poems for you, correct source code, and do a variety of other things. So Siri now has ChatGPT integration. It can also describe an image. It can also generate images. Generate a photo of a tabby cat with a top hat on riding a rocket.
Here are some images of tabby cat with a top hat on a riding rocket from the web.
Not exactly generated, but rather looked up online, so I expected a bit better here. So yeah, that's the first aspect of it. Now you can also work with documents, which I have a lot recently. This is, for example, a piece of news taken from a BBC website about the impeachment of the president in South Korea. This icon here is Apple Intelligence. You can actually describe your changes, do proofreading, rewriting on a friendlier, professional or concise tone. You can create a summary if the text is too long. You can have bullet points or create a table of your text. You can make it more concise. You can, as I said before, create a table that's useful for specs or things like that, not an article about politics and impeachment and, well, things like that. Okay, so that's the text thing. It can also be applied to the email when you're composing emails. Here we have a special priority feature. So yeah, priority would help you organize your mail better. And you also have suggestions for replies. So if I do a reply here, reply, I should also be able to resort to AI for my replies here. You can also send later. This is the reply feature. These are the writing tools again. You can also write a a wedding invitation, resignation letter, or what have you, courtesy of the AI. Then there's the photo editing, which has received a tool called Cleanup. So if I want to go here and I press this one, Cleanup is a new feature, and I can just circle what I want gone. This car, for example. It's not as efficient as Galaxy AI is. It leaves some odd objects behind, but it also offers you suggestions on what to delete, and it's a bit better at deleting people than deleting objects. So yeah, that's that. Okay, so let's see what else. Here you can also start drawing things. That's a basic person. Okay, and using this magic wand, you can actually create a sketch from it. But you can also add a few words. A skinny stick figure. You can also use keywords and your drawing, and this is what will come out. Unable to use that description. Stick figure. Generic. It's a bit hit and miss if you ask me. This is it. You can also use multiple styles of it. It's loading more right now, like this one here. You can do illustrations if you want to. Or you can also do animations, which are the most complex versions of what you had before. Okay, and aside from that, if you go to the messages, for example, I already spoiled it for you. And if you want to write a new message from here, you go to the keyboard, you go to the smiley, and you have Genmoji. You can turn yourself into an emoji or simply create one, let's say kitten with fireworks. So you're creating your own emojis, which can be inserted into your keyboard, and you can use them freely and send them to people. You can also use yourself. This is one of my avatars that I actually turned into a guy with a cowboy hat, and I can send him freely wherever I want. Okay, let's see what else. Of course, there's also the voice transcribing, so you got your voice memo here. I actually recorded a recent interview of Val Kilmer, who died recently, an interview from YouTube, and I can see the transcript here. I can copy it, but this was also available before, so it's not exactly new when it comes to the AI. Once again, available before, and the languages here include French, English, Spanish, Finnish, and quite a few more. Okay, of course, another novelty here is the fact that you also have something called Playground. I play with Playground, but this is how you do it. So first of all, you got your images and selfies on the phone. Then you got a bunch of suggestions, and then you can actually describe an image. So I can start off with one of my selfies, put on a beanie, add a starry night, and also maybe fireworks. And the Playground AI will create the image. So this is one of my selfies with a beanie and fireworks in the background, but you can also start from scratch and not use yourself. Instead of yourself, you can also use I would say, generic person. You can choose the skin tone, the sex, the hair length. You can choose your appearance from here, regular guy instead of my selfie. Okay, then you can add a scarf, a beret, and mountains. And here we are. Justin Bieber figure-like. Okay, but you can once again describe the image. So let's say hybrid cow cat. That's what it understands from a hybrid between a cow and a cat. You can let your mind go free and use your imagination to create whatever you want. In a nutshell, this is all that Apple Intelligence has to offer. Most of them are gimmicks, and to be honest, Galaxy AI is a bit better. And now it's time for the verdict. On the Pro side, it's a very comfy phone with a pretty good battery life, solid speakers, also pretty bright and crisp OLED screen, nothing to object about that. I like the fact that it received the Apple Intelligence at last in Europe. It takes quality selfies and selfie videos, good stabilization, good close-ups, and in general good colors. It's an honest main camera. I also have to say that the processor is quite powerful. You get 5 years of iOS updates and fast connectivity. On the cons, the notch is antiquated. There's no ultra-wide, there's no zoom camera. We have 60 Hz display here. There's no MagSafe, the charge is pretty slow. Nighttime capture, well, I expected a bit more from it. It's a bit pricey, and there are no colors to choose from for the body except black or white. It feels like an overpriced mid-ranger considering what Realme and Motorola have to offer nowadays, but you are getting Apple Intelligence if you want a taste. This is the kind of phone that people would buy because it's smaller and cheaper than the iPhone 16 or 15. But if you want, you can get a 14 and you should be decently happy with that without telling too much difference between them. So yeah, there's that. We have only one singular camera, and some people may complain about not having ultra wide or telephoto, and it's just an okay camera, nothing memorable, nothing to write home about. I feel that the phone gets quite a bit hot during Apple Intelligence, charging, and some intense games, so not exactly a phone for gaming. You're going to buy it for the quality of the battery, I would have to say, maybe of the selfies, and to get a taste of what Apple Intelligence can mean. But once again, the compact body will definitely sell it more than anything else. And its biggest rival is the iPhone 14 or even the 13. That's it from GSMDome.com. Goodbye.